this moment in time, you're currently under arrest for making off without payment. You don't have to say anything,
but I haven't made off.
We don't mention one question to the little line. Oh, anything you do is significant evidence.
But I haven't made off, though.
For your arrest is recorded in actual investigation.
This episode features I Spy audits, so make sure to check the link below, subscribe to his channel, and support him for the work he does. In this video, Auditor I Spy visits a BP petrol station to buy fuel and attempts to pay using a £20 coin made by the Royal Mint, which is legal tender in the UK. But what should have been a normal payment quickly turns into a huge problem when the staff refuse to accept the coin and decide to call the police. Instead of treating it as a simple civil disagreement, the officers arrive and make the situation worse. Rather than calming things down, they escalate it and end up arresting I Spy even though no actual crime had taken place. That careless choice later backfires badly because I Spy takes the matter to court and recently received a huge payout from the case.
A £20 coin.
Never seen them in my life.
So it's from the Royal Mint, so the same place that all legal tender comes from.
Have you got any other means of payment at the minute?
I don't know. Can I ask why you didn't tell me before you started recording?
So when we go to any incident, our tour of duty and our police protocol is to video every incident we go to achieve the best evidence.
But you've got to notify the person, or the first available opportunity.
No, we don't.
You do?
Have you got that from somewhere? Have you read that up somewhere? Or?
Yes, your policy. Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah. At the minute, we're obviously videoing everything because we're being called to an incident. Immediate response where there's some ongoing issue with payment, whether it's a domestic...
999?
Well, that's what's coming as, yeah.
Wow.
Well, we just didn't know what was happening. There was an altercation in the shop, so we've arrived on that instance. Are you going to give me your name?
I'm not, no.
Right, okay. Because is there a reason for that?
Because it's a civil matter, and it's not something that the police can get involved in.
To a degree, you're right. It is a civil matter, but we can deal with it a different way. But obviously, ultimately, you haven't paid for your fuel.
From the moment the officer arrives, she clearly shows that she is not prepared to handle the situation properly. The auditor quickly notices her body camera and asks why she did not tell him it was recording. The rules are very clear that officers should inform members of the public as soon as possible when they are being recorded. Instead of admitting that, she completely denies that such a rule even exists. Things get worse when she starts demanding the auditor's name, even though this is not a criminal case. It is simply a civil dispute between him and the petrol station. There is no legal reason to ask for identification when no crime has been committed. Either the officer did not understand the law or she purposely ignored it, and both possibilities are unacceptable for someone in police uniform.
But they're not accepting that money.
But that's up to them to accept it. If they decline...
They've obviously run the post office and they've declined that. Ultimately, it's a civil issue, but if you're not willing to give us your details, then how do we know that you're going to resolve the civil issue at a later date? If you're happy to give us your details, then we can look at the civil issue at a later date.
But that's a civil issue. That's nothing for the police to get involved in.
But we don't know your details, do we? So you could technically escape from here and never come back and never deal with that issue. Then you'd be circulated as wanted for that, won't you? For making off without payment.
That's not a police issue at the minute.
It is. It is a police issue because you've not paid for fuel. So there's still an offence there of that you've not paid for your fuel.
But I have paid. I've gave them.
But you've gave them this coin, yeah, which ultimately they've spoke to the post office and they've decided that it's not a reasonable amount of payment for your fuel. So at the minute we're sort of hands are tied, yeah. Agree with you on a certain instance of that, but we still need a solution today, whether we take your details and we deal with it at a late date.
The officer openly admits herself that this is only a civil dispute. But then she suddenly tries to create a reason to demand ID by claiming they need the details to sort it out later. That is not how police powers work. If there is no suspected crime, then there is no legal power to force someone to give their details. She cannot turn a private disagreement over payment into a police-controlled ID check just because the petrol station staff are unhappy. When she warned that the auditor could be circulated as wanted, it was nothing more than an empty threat. Wanted notices are used for criminal cases involving suspects, warrants, or people failing to appear in court, not for civil payment disputes. Using the threat of criminal action to pressure someone into compliance is a misuse of authority and shows she never had proper legal grounds in the first place. If she truly believed a crime had happened, she needed to examine the actual elements of the offense like dishonesty, making off without payment, and intent to avoid paying. But in this case, the auditor stayed at the scene, attempted to pay, and simply disputed the payment method, which clearly makes it a civil matter.
So basically, he's trying to pay with this. They've run the post office and said that it doesn't really exist, you can't pay with that.
No.
He obviously won't give us our details. I've explained to him to a degree it is a civil matter. However, if he does make off and he doesn't give us our details, we're struggling for any sort of civil issue at a later date. Any details for making off without payment. Yeah, so I've explained if he does give us his details and we know where he is and we can contact him at a later date, hopefully this issue can get resolved. No. He's obviously not really wanting to do that at the minute.
Because it's a civil issue and it's nothing for the police to get involved in.
But you're still going to make off, aren't you? Technically without payment, but if we can get your details...
But I have paid.
But you haven't...
And it is their policy to accept the £20 coin.
Has he paid?
Policy? No, he hasn't.
Right, if you haven't paid, and if you walk out this door now...
They've still got the money though.
Just let me finish. If you walk out that door now, you are liable for an arrest because we don't have your details.
But you don't need them.
Well, I do
because it's a civil issue.
But it's not, because a make off without payment is then a police matter.
The second officer arrives and immediately makes the situation worse by jumping straight to threats of arrest. That makes no sense because the auditor was still inside the petrol station, not trying to leave, and was openly arguing about the payment issue. There could not be any offense of making off without payment because he never left the scene, and there was clearly no intention to avoid paying. What makes her threat even weaker is that the auditor had already attempted to pay using a £20 Royal Mint coin, but the cashier refused to accept it. That alone destroys the idea that he was trying to escape payment. Under the Theft Act, both leaving the scene and intending to avoid payment must exist for an offense to happen. In this situation, neither of those things applied. By trying to turn a simple payment disagreement into a criminal issue, just because she could not get his details, the officer showed a serious misunderstanding of the law.
If you walk out that door now, If you walk out that door now, you'll be getting arrested for make off without payment.
But there is an agreement with BP that the coin can be used.
Is there any other way that you can pay? Because we're going to sit here for hours arguing. I've been quite respectful to you. I appreciate you have to a degree, and I appreciate that from yourself. You haven't been argumentative with me, and I appreciate that you've been a normal human being. However, we need
I don't intend to. No,
I appreciate
if you
that.
can pay for the fuel now by other means, then that's fair enough. It'll be the end of the matter.
Or if you can give us your details and we can deal with it at a slower time, we can offer you that. But if you're not willing to do either any, then we're struggling with what we have left to do.
Because we can't let you walk out that door without paying.
But we don't know where you live. You might not even be from around here. I'm not saying you are, but you know what I mean. We have people where they'll make off and then they won't give us our details, and then we're going to struggle. I'm still going to have that £20 of fuel, unfortunately, with this BP garage outstanding.
Which car is it?
But I have paid for the fuel.
But you haven't paid. Which one?
Right, we're going round in circles, aren't we?
We are, unfortunately. Yeah. We've agreed. We've reasoned with you now, and we've tried to say that if you give us your details, tell you where you live, we'll deal with it slow time. However, you then leave. You don't have your details, you don't know where you live, you could live in London for all we know, and then there's still this making off without payment because they will not accept this as payment.
But I don't have to identify for a civil issue.
It technically isn't a civil issue though, is it, when you leave and you don't pay? You haven't paid for your fuel. We've got the payment here, which isn't acceptable, so really you haven't paid at the minute.
The whole situation was based on a false idea from the start. The officers kept warning the auditor about leaving, acting as if he was about to drive away without paying, but that never actually happened. He was still inside the shop, still talking to them, and had already tried to pay using a Royal Mint coin. The police were not reacting to what he was really doing. They were reacting to a situation they had imagined in their own minds. That is not proper law enforcement. It is pure assumption. Their claim that they could not confirm who he was without forcing him to provide ID was also very weak. His vehicle registration plate was parked right outside, giving them a legal and simple way to identify him if they honestly believed it was needed. Instead of using that option, they ignored it completely and continued demanding details they had no lawful power to force him to give. By turning a simple civil disagreement into an excuse for arrest, the officers were not calming the situation down or solving anything. They were only making the problem much bigger than it needed to be.
Because I've handed the coin over. So I haven't got that in my possession, and I've contacted BP head office before coming here.
Right, so was that today then, or?
No.
So when was that then? So you've contacted BP head office before you've come in?
Correct.
Right, so did you contact them today, or was it yesterday or last week, or?
It's not up to me to say that.
How's it money?
Do you understand what the £20 coin is?
No, that's why I'm confused.
Well, why are you threatening me for arrest then, if you don't know?
Because it's not money.
It is.
Right. We'll agree to disagree.
You don't know that. It is. It's legal tender. The same as a £20 note and a £10 note.
Right. And who did you speak to from the BP garage, the manager?
It's a Royal Mint who issued that £20 coin.
Right.
So it's the same money as any other money.
If you get someone on the phone to me who you've spoken to earlier, then we could kind of end the matter here, can't we?
But if it's a civil issue, I don't need to assist you.
At the minute, we don't know it's a civil matter.
I don't need to assist you in a civil issue.
But you do, because it then turns into a police matter because we don't know that coin.
The auditor had already done more than enough by explaining that even BP had confirmed the coin was valid. That should have settled the issue immediately. Instead, the officer turns it into another demand, insisting that he personally contact them or else the situation becomes a police matter. That is completely unreasonable. He was under no legal obligation to help the officer in that way, and refusing to do so does not suddenly create a criminal offense. The police are supposed to examine the facts and apply the law correctly, not place the responsibility on a citizen to prove their innocence. Her next comment, saying, "We don't know that coin," only makes her position look even weaker. A £20 Royal Mint coin is legal tender in the UK. If the officers failed to recognize it, that is their mistake, not the auditor's problem.
It's a civil agreement.
You're being arrested because you haven't given us the details, and you're going to walk out that door, and it's technically a failure to pay.
But then it'll be a civil. But then I'll sue you.
Well, that's fine. If you want to sue us, that's fine.
Unlawful arrest.
Like I said, we've been honest with you in terms of which way we can go. The staff here have been very honest, okay. And all I'm saying is, if you get the person on the phone who you spoke to earlier with the agreement, then that could be the end of the matter. But as far as I do, then it technically, if you walk out the door, there's going to be a make without payment.
He's already accepted to take it.
You haven't accepted to take it. No, haven't accepted to take it. You walk out that door, becomes a criminal matter, and you get arrested for make off without payment.
You give us your details.
You're refusing to give us your details, and we don't know that vehicle is yours because you're not.
But I've told you.
Is it urgent?
That he said he would take the coin.
But he isn't.
If I take my mask off.
Right, well, I wasn't here for that, so we have no witnesses, unfortunately, other than you and him. Right now, I can't view that.
Body camera.
But right now, I can't view that. At the end of the day, you've come in, you've paid for you've got your fuel, you've come in. This isn't a payable matter. Once you leave, we've offered you to give us your details and deal with it that way. For all I know, that vehicle could be registered to somebody else and lived in London. And how are we ever going to trace you?
But I don't need to assist you.
Situation, it is making off without payment. I can't be any more reasonable with you and give you some sort of options that we can go.
But I don't need to assist you.
Are you offering to give
because
the
you're
staff,
wrong.
not myself, not my colleague, the staff your name and contact number?
No.
Right, so we have one option but two will lock you up then.
Well, I've got a civil agreement in the background.
You can prove that at court. Prove that at court.
That's fine, you can prove that at court.
Right, well this moment in time, you're currently under arrest for making off without payment. You don't have to say anything but
I haven't made off.
You don't mention one question in the later line. Oh, anything you do is maybe give evidence.
But I haven't made off though.
For your arrest is recorded in factual investigation. Okay?
But I haven't made off.
Your precautions stuff.
And due to the fact you failed to provide details.
But I haven't made off.
Failed to provide details, yeah.
But I haven't made off.
Right, are we going to go calmly? Are we going to go quietly?
We would go calmly all the time.
Okay, well, do you want to walk with us then?
Of course.
Thank you. Just come with me, sir, please. Have you got anything in your pockets that's going to harm me or you? Just take them out. It's just a question we ask everybody.
Can we just take your camera off as well, please?
This is the moment where the situation changes from simple incompetence to clear abuse of power. The officers arrest the auditor for making off without payment while he is still standing inside the shop, clearly telling them, "I haven't made off." That statement alone should have stopped the arrest immediately. The offense only applies when someone actually leaves without paying, and that never happened here. He had not left the store, was not attempting to leave, and made that completely clear to the officers. Even with all of that, they still continued with the arrest. From a legal point of view, the decision is extremely difficult to defend. The Theft Act requires two important elements. The person must leave and must intend to permanently avoid payment. In this case, neither condition existed. The auditor had already offered a valid payment method and was still actively involved in the disagreement inside the store. The crime the officers claimed had taken place simply did not exist at that moment, and deep down they knew it. Now, Auditor I Spy gives an update on the legal claim that followed.
About 10 months ago, I walked out of those gates after being falsely arrested for using the £20 coin. The Chief Constable has paid out £4,000 in compensation, but unfortunately he did not apologise at any point, even taking him to court. He went all the way to court, we had the hearing date, and then the Chief Constable saw some sense and paid £4,000 in compensation, but no apology.
The case eventually went to court, and the auditor ended up receiving a large payout of £3,999 along with legal costs. That is not a small amount of money. It is a major payment for a situation that should never have happened at all. The results showed just how weak the police position became once their actions were properly examined in court. In the end, they clearly understood they could not successfully defend what they had done, so settling the case was their only real option. What makes the situation even worse is the auditor's claim that the chief constable, the highest-ranking officer in the force, never offered any apology. Thousands of pounds of taxpayer money were handed over, effectively admitting wrongdoing through the settlement. Yet they still could not show the professionalism to simply admit fault. That silence says a lot. It reflects a culture where protecting reputation matters more than accountability and where public trust comes second. This case perfectly shows how a very small issue can turn into serious misconduct when officers fail to properly understand the law they are supposed to enforce. A simple civil disagreement over a coin, something police should never have been involved in from the start, ended with a wrongful arrest because ego and authority took the place of common sense. That kind of behavior is not proper policing. It looks more like intimidation carried out by people in uniform. What makes it even more troubling is how the officers kept creating new excuses as the situation continued. They repeatedly argued, "What if you leave without paying?" Even though the auditor never once suggested he would do that. Their entire case was built around an imaginary situation that never actually happened. That is not law enforcement. It is bending reality to create grounds for action where none existed. The incident also highlights a deeper problem inside policing culture, where intimidation is sometimes used instead of patience, knowledge, and communication. Rather than calmly resolving the disagreement, the officers quickly moved toward threats, detention, and finally arrest. When police rely on fear instead of facts, it damages more than just the person involved. It slowly destroys public confidence in the entire system. If something like this can happen over a coin dispute, people begin to wonder what else could be escalated in the same way. Then comes the final part of the story. Nearly £4,000 of taxpayer money was paid out, yet there was still no apology from the chief constable. That silence does not just appear arrogant. It gives the impression that the force would rather cover mistakes with money than openly face the failures of its officers. In the end, it reveals where the real priorities seem to be, protecting the image of the police force instead of correcting the behavior that caused the problem in the first place.